Speaking of changes in playlists, in addition to the arcade playlist, we saw another change coming. This one is a pretty big one. Got a lot of cheers from the crowd.
Yeah, so you asked for it. We're bringing map bans to Rainbow Six Siege.
Why don't you tell us how these map bans are going to work?
So whenever you start up a ranked playlist or an unranked playlist, you jump in and you have 3 maps to choose from the pool. Both teams will vote on which ones they want banned. The remaining one will be the one you play.
So as you saw in that video, there's a new map ban system coming to Siege. And to be honest, I really don't think the game needs a map banning system. I've always enjoyed the maps on Siege, and the only reasons I've ever not enjoyed a map was because I kept using the same operators and tactics. However, I can understand the desire for a ban system when your rank is partially affected by it. So my plea to the developers is to continue watching and hear my ideas for why I think the new banning system needs some tweaks before just coming straight to the game. The biggest problems I have with this new system is that it has the potential to vastly destroy the content of Siege by giving the player too much control. Now I know a lot of you are probably thinking I'm nuts to even suggest that giving less control to the player is a bad idea, but hear me out. So currently there are 20 maps that could be played on, but not all of them are being used. And yes, some of them are certainly for good reasons, as they're not balanced for playlists like Ranked. But in the current rotations for Year 5, you can only play 12 maps out of 20. This creates a problem where you feel like you're playing the same maps all the time, despite having a rotation. Because now the chances of you playing on the same map more than once or twice in a day increases. And you're probably thinking, wait, that doesn't make sense. Having a banning system would solve the issue of not having to play the same map over and over again. But that's the problem. It in fact just does the opposite as well. You see, if there is a map like Outback or Villa that people don't want to play, with this new system, they will almost always have the choice to get rid of it with no consequences. This means that people can get too comfortable and lazy, and ironically, it makes people's map knowledge even worse as they become dependent on banning it. Imagine that only 8 maps out of the 12 get a 75% chance of being played consistently. This means now that your chance of playing the same map over and over again becomes even greater. But there is a way that we can still use a banning system without this problem. And my suggestion is to use the veto system from one of the greatest FPS multiplayer games ever made, Halo 3. The way that Halo 3's veto system worked was that you would start off with one map currently selected. If you didn't want to play that map, then you could vote to get a different one. But the difference between the map banning system and the original Halo 3's veto system is that vetoing gave both incentives and deterrence. For instance, if you didn't want to play on the map Guardians, you could veto and get a better map, but there was always a consequence as well. If you voted for a new map, you could get an even worse map than before because it was random. This created an equal system of outcome. If you didn't like the map, you had the option to vote, but you also didn't want to get the chance of getting an even worse map. Again, this created an incentive to keep from always skipping the same maps. Now granted, with a veto system like Halo 3, the pick rate of maps like Outback or Villa could still be low. But again, unlike the banning system, if someone vetoes a map like Bank, you can get Outback or Villa, versus the current system that has no consequences or deterrence to your decision. You see what I'm saying? You are more likely to get a diverse amount of maps, gameplay, and content when the maps are randomly generated, versus players visibly being able to pick which map they want without any deterrence. And even if you disagree with me, there are still other problems that need to be considered. For instance, Microwave Gaming brings up some really good points of why strategically map banning could be a really unfair system. And I'm not going to play the whole video as I'll have it linked below, but I just want you guys to hear this.
What happens if 2 out of the 3 of those maps are heavily attacker sided? Then you and your attack or your defense, you have a harder battle to go to win that elo, right? So I think that the option of showing here, if you're on the blue team or orange team, doesn't need to happen. Now, this whole ban progress is going to be in the game from here on out. Like, it'll never go away unless they want to remove it, obviously. But chances are they won't do that because operator bans are pretty much here to stay.
So Ubi, if you're watching this, as someone who loves Siege, please consider changing the banning system to a veto system. I truly believe that Halo 3 did it best, and I believe Siege can as well. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and if you agree that the banning system needs some tweaking, please share this with Ubisoft and show them that there is a desire for this. Thanks, and have a great day.
Fantastic. Couldn't be simpler.
It's all about humanity.